You can lose thousands on a truck you thought was a smart buy. Not because it looked bad, not because it drove badly, but because the real problem was hiding where you never thought to look. And by the time you hear the noise, feel the slip, or see that warning light, your money is already gone. So let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a truck that seemed perfect at first, and then turned into a complete nightmare? Or maybe you almost did. Drop your story in the comments, because a lot of people watching this are closer to that mistake than they realize. Here's the thing, no one tells you when you're shopping for a truck. The most expensive problems are rarely obvious. They don't always show up on the test drive. They don't always leave a puddle on the ground. They don't always make a horrible sound right away. Sometimes the truck starts fine, drives fine, looks clean, feels strong. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because the trucks that fool buyers the easiest are usually the popular ones. That's what makes this so brutal. You're not buying some strange forgotten model nobody talks about. You're buying the truck everyone recommends. The one with the big reputation. The one your friend says is bulletproof. The one you see everywhere. And that reputation makes you relax. It makes you trust the badge more than the actual truck sitting in front of you. And that's where people get burned. A lot of hidden truck issues are quiet at first. Very quiet. A cold start rattle that lasts 2 seconds. A rough shift that only happens after the transmission is warm. A faint ticking sound the seller says is totally normal. A small vibration at highway speed that feels easy to ignore. But here's the scary part. Small symptoms often lead to massive bills. And once those bills show up, nobody cares how clean the paint was. Take the Ford F-150, one of the most bought trucks in America. On paper, it feels like the safe choice. Huge parts support, huge fan base, tons of trims, tons of engines. Easy to find, easy to justify. But some of these trucks hide problems so well that buyers walk in feeling confident and walk out owning a repair bill in disguise. Certain EcoBoost models have had issues that start with a simple sound. Just a quick rattle at startup. That's it. Easy to dismiss, easy to explain away, easy for a seller to say, they all do that. But when you hear that phrase, be careful. Because they all do that is often code for, I know there's a problem, but I need you to stop asking questions. And it gets worse. Because once timing-related issues begin stacking up, you are not dealing with some cheap little fix. You're dealing with labor, parts, diagnostics, downtime, maybe a vehicle you can't trust anymore. And that changes everything. A truck doesn't have to completely break down to become stressful. Sometimes the real damage is what it does to your confidence. Every cold start becomes a test. Every drive becomes a gamble. Every new noise feels like bad news. Then there's the transmission issue. And if you've spent any time around truck owners, you already know this is where things get ugly fast. Some trucks shift beautifully. Others hesitate, clunk, hunt for gears, or feel confused in normal driving. And that inconsistency is what scares buyers. Because you can drive one truck and think everything's fine, while another truck with the same setup is slowly heading toward trouble. That's the problem with buying based on reputation. Reputation doesn't guarantee your truck will be the good one. You could still end up with the one that shifts weird, the one that jerks between gears, the one that makes you grip the wheel and think, was that normal? And the moment you start asking that question, the ownership experience changes. GM trucks do this to people too. Silverado, Sierra, big names, strong presence, solid image. A lot of buyers still think it's a V8 truck, simple, tough, proven, and that old school image still sells. But newer trucks don't always play by old school rules. Some come with design choices that sound smart on paper until they start failing in the real world. That's where things like lifter issues start creeping into the conversation. And when that happens, you're suddenly dealing with the kind of engine problem that can drain your bank account in one hit. What makes this so frustrating is how normal the truck can seem right before it happens. It can idle okay. It can drive okay. It can even look premium. You might be proud to own it. Then one day it starts ticking, misfiring, shaking, or throwing codes. And now the simple V8 truck you trusted is no longer simple at all. That's the trick. A lot of these trucks don't look broken. They look expensive. They look desirable. They look like success. And that emotional reaction gets buyers every single day. Ram trucks might be the best example of that. Because when a Ram is clean, it's easy to want it. They look good. They ride well. The interiors can feel shockingly upscale. Some of them feel more premium than vehicles people paid luxury money for. You sit inside and think, yeah, this feels worth it. And for a moment, maybe it does. But the hidden risk shows up later. Because some Rams can age in expensive ways. Ticking sounds, exhaust bolt problems, suspension issues, electrical annoyances, and then there's air suspension, which sounds amazing while you're shopping. smooth ride, premium feel, fancy features. Until the day the truck sits weird in the driveway, throws warnings on a cold morning, or refuses to behave the way it should. That's when the luxury feeling disappears, and suddenly you realize something most buyers learn too late. Fancy features are fun when they work. They're painful when they fail, especially on a used truck, especially out of warranty, especially when you bought the truck thinking you were getting a great deal. And this is where buyers make one of the biggest mistakes of all. They shop for what feels impressive instead of what ages well. Big screen, panoramic roof, power running boards, special suspension, massive wheels, premium trim. It all feels exciting. But excitement is cheap on day one. Ownership is expensive on day 700. Toyota buyers are not immune either. And this is where people really let their guard down. Because Toyota has such a strong reputation, some buyers stop thinking critically the moment they see the badge. Tacoma? Must be safe. Tundra? Must be safe. Maybe, but maybe not. Because the badge is not the truck. The year matters. The condition matters. The history matters. And hidden issues don't care about brand loyalty. Rust is one of the nastiest examples of that. Because rust doesn't always show off. It doesn't always scream for attention. It hides underneath, behind, along the frame, around mounting points, in places most buyers barely look. The body can shine. The seats can be spotless. The engine can run beautifully. But if the underside is rotting, the whole deal changes. And by the time some buyers realize how serious it is, they already own it. That's the cruel part. A truck can be mechanically strong and still become a bad buy. Because reliability is not just engine life. It's structure. It's safety. It's whether the truck is even worth repairing when something else goes wrong. And when rust enters that conversation, the answer gets ugly fast. Now let's make this even more uncomfortable. Because newer trucks bring a whole different category of risk. More sensors, more electronics, more emissions equipment, more screens, more modules, more software, more things that can leave you stranded without a dramatic failure. That's the weird part. Your truck might not feel broken in the traditional sense, but one electronic issue can trigger warnings, limp mode, feature failures, camera problems, shifting weirdness, or random behavior that sends you straight into a diagnostic black hole. And diagnostic time costs money. That's what a lot of buyers miss. They think only major repairs are expensive. Not true. Sometimes the real money disappears in the search for the problem. Hours of labor just to find out why the truck is acting up. Then parts, then programming, then recalibration, then maybe a second issue shows up. And now your modern truck is starting to feel like a very advanced way to lose money. Diesel trucks can be even worse, because diesel has this image. Tough, long-lasting, built for work. And yes, when a diesel truck is healthy, it can feel unstoppable. But when you buy the wrong used diesel, it can financially destroy you. Not slowly, not gently, violently. Emissions systems alone have turned a lot of diesel owners into full-time warriors. Warning lights, regeneration issues, sensors, injectors, turbos, DEF system problems, EGR problems, fuel system problems. One issue becomes another, then another. And before you know it, you're staring at a repair estimate that sounds fake. The worst part? A diesel can hide its pain for a while. Maybe it starts a little rough. Maybe it throws one code and then clears it. Maybe it feels slightly down on power. Maybe the seller already knows something's wrong, but the truck still moves, so they sell it before the real failure arrives. And that's how buyers end up with a great deal that turns into a brutal lesson. A cheap diesel truck is one of the scariest phrases in this entire market. Because sometimes it's cheap for a reason you haven't discovered yet. The Ram EcoDiesel pulled a lot of people in exactly this way. Great fuel economy, nice torque, half-ton comfort, strong idea. But a good idea on paper doesn't always turn into a good ownership experience. Some owners found out the hard way that once expensive issues start coming together, the fuel savings mean almost nothing. One serious repair can wipe all of that out, instantly. And here's something that makes the whole truck market more dangerous than people admit. A lot of buyers aren't really shopping for the best truck. They're shopping for the best feeling. That sounds harsh, but it's true. They want the truck that feels powerful, the one that looks sharp in the driveway, the one that makes them feel like they upgraded their life. And that emotional pull is strong. Strong enough to make you ignore a weird sound. Strong enough to accept missing service records. Strong enough to overlook rough idle, strange shifting, rust underneath, or suspicious modifications. And sellers know that. That's why appearance matters so much in the used truck world. Clean detail, fresh tires, nice photos, shiny paint, dark tint, aggressive stance. It creates a mood. It creates confidence. It makes you want the truck before you've actually judged it properly. And once you want it, you start excusing things you would normally walk away from. That's why modified trucks are so risky, because some of them look incredible. Lift kit, wheels, tires, exhaust, tune, lights, step bars, flares, everything screaming attitude. But hidden under that aggressive look can be a list of future repairs already forming. Oversized wheels can stress suspension and steering parts. Bad lift geometry can wear things out early. Cheap tuning can hammer the drivetrain. Amateur wiring can create electrical nightmares. And if the previous owner cared more about style than longevity, you are inheriting their priorities. That should worry you, because half-done modifications are everywhere. Spliced wires, cheap parts, mystery buttons, random switches, unfinished installs, strange noises, suspension setups that were clearly done on a budget, trucks built to look good in pictures, not to age well over time. And this is where a lot of people get fooled by clean interiors. A spotless cabin means almost nothing by itself. Clean leather does not prove good maintenance. A polished hood does not prove fluid changes were done on time. Nice floor mats do not prove the transmission wasn't abused while towing. Cosmetic condition is easy to fix. Mechanical neglect is not. That's why some of the cleanest trucks for sale are also some of the most dangerous. They were cleaned because cleaning helps them sell. But here's the part most buyers don't do enough. They don't look for patterns. They don't ask, what commonly fails on this engine? On this year? On this trim? At this mileage? They ask if the truck feels nice, if the seller seems cool, if the price looks fair. But hidden problems don't care how nice the seller is. They don't care how badly you want the truck. They care about patterns. And if you don't know those patterns, you are buying blind. That's why the test drive can lie to you, not intentionally. But still, it can lie. 10 or 15 minutes is not enough to reveal everything. A seller can warm the truck up before you arrive. Clear the codes. Top off fluids, quiet noises, clean leaks, reset the battery, make the truck behave just long enough to pass the moment. And if you're excited, you help the illusion. You don't push hard enough. You don't stay long enough. You don't inspect cold start behavior. You don't crawl under it. You don't slow yourself down. And that's when costly mistakes happen. If you're getting value from this, take 1 second and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because this is exactly how you avoid expensive truck mistakes. Not after the purchase, before it. Most people research only when something breaks, and by then, it's already too late. So if you want to stay ahead of these traps, make sure you're subscribed. Now here's another hidden issue people miss. Hard use history. A truck can have reasonable mileage and still be worn harder than a truck with much higher miles. Towing, job site use, heavy payloads, constant idling, harsh weather, rough roads. These things matter. A lot. 50,000 brutal miles can age a truck faster than 90,000 easy highway miles. But you don't always see that in the listing. You see a number. You see photos. You see a price. What you don't see is the stress that number represents. Four-wheel drive systems can hide trouble too. And people love 4x4 trucks. For snow, for off-road use, for the image, for resale. But if the transfer case was neglected, if the front-end components are tired, if corrosion has started doing damage underneath, if actuators or hubs are aging out, that capability comes with risk. The very feature you paid extra for can become the thing that empties your wallet. And then there's luxury truck syndrome. Big screen, digital gauges, ventilated seats, cameras everywhere, panoramic roof, power tailgate, power steps, premium everything. It feels amazing when you're buying it. Then one thing stops working, then another, and suddenly you're paying premium truck repair money for features that have nothing to do with actually hauling, towing, or getting you home. That's a painful realization, because by then you understand something most buyers don't think about up front. More features do not always mean more value. Sometimes they just mean more future problems. And if you financed that truck, it gets even darker. Now you're not just fixing it. You're fixing something you still owe money on. Maybe a lot of money. Maybe more than it's worth. That's the nightmare. Negative equity and repairs at the same time. You can't comfortably sell it. You can't comfortably keep repairing it. You feel stuck. And that feeling, that trapped feeling, is what turns a bad truck into a serious financial problem. Another mistake buyers make is waiting for an official recall before taking a problem seriously. But a lot of the worst truck issues don't arrive with dramatic headlines. Sometimes they start as quiet patterns. Owners notice them. Independent mechanics notice them. Dealer techs definitely notice them. Forums talk about them for years. But buyers who don't do the homework walk in unaware and pay the price later. That's why certified or dealer-maintained should not make you relax too much. It can help, sure, but it is not a force field. A truck can pass inspection and still be one failure away from a major bill. A dealer can sell it with confidence and still know it's a machine with known weak points. The real question is not just whether it feels okay today. The real question is what tends to happen next. That is the difference between smart buying and hopeful buying. And hopeful buying is expensive. Here's another trap. Overpaying for popularity. Some trucks are so in demand that buyers stretch the budget just to get one. And that makes hidden issues even more dangerous. Because now you've already paid too much before the repair bill even arrives. So when something goes wrong, you get hit twice. First in the purchase, then in the repair. And if the market cools down later, you might get hit a third time in resale. That's how a good truck can still become a bad deal. You also have to be careful with urgency. Sellers love urgency. Dealers love urgency. Someone else is interested. This one won't last. Today is the last day at this price. And maybe sometimes that's true. But pressure is exactly what hidden problems need. The faster you move, the less you inspect. The less you inspect, the easier it is to miss cold start noise, rough shifting, rust bubbles, mismatched tires, poor service history, suspicious modifications, or little details that could have saved you thousands. The market wants you emotional. You need to be clinical, because the wrong truck rarely introduces itself as the wrong truck. It often arrives looking perfect, driving smooth, sounding strong, feeling premium. It gives you just enough confidence to lower your guard. And that's all it needs. So before you buy the truck everybody else wants, slow down. Before you trust the badge, slow down. Before you say, it's probably nothing, slow down. Look harder. Ask better questions. Check the known issues. Study the year. Study the engine. Study the transmission. Look underneath. Look for patterns. Look for proof of maintenance when nobody was watching. Because hype can cost you. Brand loyalty can cost you. Excitement can definitely cost you. And the most dangerous problems of all? They're not always loud. They're not always dramatic. They're not always obvious. They hide under reputation, under styling, under popularity, under clean photos and confident sales talk. They wait until the honeymoon is over. Then they show up all at once. That's when people realize the truth. The wrong truck doesn't always look wrong. Sometimes it looks like the dream. And if you ignore the hidden flaws, the design weak points, the maintenance gaps, and the long-term risks, that dream can turn into one of the most expensive mistakes you ever make. So stay sharp. Don't shop with your ego. Don't shop with blind trust. Shop like every shiny truck has a secret, because some of them do. And if you want to protect yourself from the next trap before it hits your wallet, watch the next video right now. Because the costliest truck mistakes usually don't happen when the truck breaks. They happen much earlier, the moment you decide to believe the wrong one.